So, I said, this place is not recommended for most civilized species, but they won't tell you why? Captain Sunlight sighed, tapping her portable screen with one scaly finger. They're not the ones without recommendation. That was the rumour from other couriers. Z put in, who have no obvious reason to lie. True, the captain admitted, but the group who are subcontracting to us are insisting that it's safe. They pay for an expensive enough insurance agreement that I believe they're not lying either. Intentionally? Z said, clicking a pincher arm like he was visualizing something specific. I asked, and you're sure they're not just hoping for the best because this is a rush order? Captain Sunlight glanced over her shoulder toward the hall. No one else was in the cargo bay with us. I got the impression that they simply didn't want to do the delivery themselves, because the area is cold and the ground is sharp. Strong arms, you know. Ah, I said, picturing the various tentacular crew members on our ship trying to pick their way across a hazardous ground without cutting a tentacle. It's a pity they've never mastered this technology called shoes. Z hissed in scorn. His exoskeleton was thinner on his narrow little bug feet, but he'd been able to maneuver along treacherous ground before. He'd be fine. Captain Sunlight said, with the speed card you won't even need to touch the ground except at the drop-off point, but I'd like you in exosuits just in case. She waved toward the crisp little hover car that had come with the job. The package on it looked like a bundle of canvas with lots of rope loops sticking out. Z said, they could have used this themselves and shoved the package over the side. Cowards. They are also very busy, said Captain Sunlight with infinite patience. They normally do the delivery with drones, but apparently those got wrecked in the storm. Is that the danger everyone talked about? I asked. No, the storm was elsewhere. Z regarded the speed cart with his antenna at a disapproving angle. So the strong arms are out because of the sharp ground, and the heat seekers are out because of the cold. Never mind we have exosuits and heat garments. Why aren't you sending Blip and Blop on this delivery? That was a good point. Fullians did wear clothes, though I'd never seen R2 wear anything particularly suited to cold weather. I could, Captain Sunlight said coolly. Should I? Z hissed at that, then finally said, Fine, but if they are wrong about the dangers, I will be extremely cross as well as dead. I will enjoy your haunting with humility, said Captain Sunlight, tapping her screen. Now, we should be arriving soon, so you want to get those exosuits on. Z hissed again in what sounded like the Mesmer equivalent of a whiny teenager, but he clicked off to get his. I really couldn't blame him for complaining. It always looked annoying to put on. I got mine as well, and as predicted, I was dressed first. By the time we both sat ready in the speed cart, Captain Sunlight had gotten herself a heat shawl, and Kavley was observing from the cockpit cameras. Stay in touch, the captain said, as the ship's engines whined a touchdown. Keep us posted at any sign of actual danger. Will do, I said, tapping my helmet. The rest of the crew had other things to do elsewhere on the ship, but I saw Painter Murr watching from the hallway. Be careful, Paint called. She wasn't wearing a heat shawl, and by the way she was peeking around the doorframe, she probably expected an icy blast from the airlock. Try not to die, Murr agreed cheerfully with a wave of a tentacle. Z scowled with his antenna. Hauntings for everyone if we do, he declared. You'll be fine, said Captain Sunlight. Just keep your intelligence in your nose. Ready? I almost missed my cue, distracted as I was by that particular heat-seeker turn of phrase. I figured it was close to keep your wits about you. I activated the speed cart and said I was ready. Z was grumpy that it wasn't a model designed for use by pincher arms, but he was ready too. The speed cart was just barely small enough to fit into the airlock without catching the door on a fender. The fact that it used the same hovertech to make bumper fields helped. That also made my driving look good, since I didn't tap anything. The door behind us shut, the one in front opened, and we scooted down the ramp into a foggy alien landscape that did indeed have spiky plant things snaking across the ground everywhere. I was grateful for the heat controls built into my exosuit. The air had a distinct chill before the warmth kicked in. Kavley asked from the radio, Good so far? I freed a hand to hit the button on my collar and replied, "So far, it's a little creepy, but no obvious dangers." "Edskin is here to advise if you need them." "Thanks," I said. I hoped we wouldn't need any insights from the ship's medic, but it was nice to have the option. And if there was actually a problem, we want them to know as soon as possible. No real problems yet, though. Just creepiness. The fog closed around us, making visibility garbage, and various distant fauna were moaning and chattering. I focused on the speedcart's navigation panel, reminding myself that I was an adult and a seasoned professional, not a kid experiencing the great outdoors for the first time. It really was unsettling, though. I couldn't put my finger on it, but something about this place was more eerie than the fog could account for. Plus, I was starting to feel nauseous. Was that worth mentioning? It was probably worth mentioning. Maybe I just ate something bad earlier. From the canned food that didn't expire until several planetary years in the future. "Looks like you're almost there," Kavli said. "Edskin wants to know if things are okay." Maybe?" I said with a glance at Z. I couldn't read his expression. "I feel a little sick, but it's faint. Hard to pin down." Edskin's voice came through the radio. "Make the drop-off quickly, then hurry back." "Yup," I agreed. "That is definitely the plan." I was starting to sweat, and the exosuit didn't know what to do about it. The temperature went down a notch. The navigation panel flashed. We'd arrived. Good thing it knew that, since this spot looked the same as everywhere else. I put us in park. Z was already moving to unload the package. A wave of dread rolled over me, pinning me to my seat. I could tell my breath was coming faster as I searched for danger. Shapes kept appearing at the corners of my vision, vanishing when I looked directly. I tried to keep my tone light. "Guys, this place might be haunted." "How do you mean?" Kavli demanded. Before I could answer, Z said, "Haunted by a really irritating noise." "Noise?" I asked, while Edskin asked him to describe it. "You can't hear that?" Z hauled the package to the edge of the speed cart and lowered it over the side. "Low and rumbling, the kind that rattles your core." "Infrasound!" Edskin exclaimed. "Certain frequencies can be unsettling for some species, even dangerous with extended exposure." "Oh, good," I said with an unsteady laugh. "So it's not ghosts that I keep seeing." They really look like ghosts. Indistinct grey blobs that wouldn't stay put. "When the sound waves are just right, they can cause resonance." Edskin went into a detailed description of how the sound I couldn't hear was making my eyes vibrate. This sounded fascinating for a medic who was safe back on the ship, not out here feeling irrationally terrified, despite their best efforts. "Got the beacon?" I asked Z. He was still leaning over the edge with two legs hooked onto the seat. "Yes." Something clicked, then a sound that I could hear rumbled out like an earthquake. "That's the beacon?" Z settled back into his seat. "More irritating than the other noise. Drive." "Right, yes." My hands were only shaking a little. I put us in reverse, even though there was nothing to be reversing away from, then turned and sped back toward the ship. Quickly. Not at a breakneck pace, but quickly. Z made a curious noise. I spared a look to find him staring back at the way we had come, where a shockingly large figure loomed in the mist. The beacon turned off. Everything was silent to my ears and slightly less terrifying, but I didn't slow down. I told Z, I may have a new ghost story for Blip and Blop. Once upon a time, some couriers made a delivery to somewhere haunted, but that was really just the clients. Z was still looking behind us. "Or fauna that ate them. Drive faster." I clutched the wheel and drove faster.